I truly believed I had a good marriage for 7 whole years. My husband Mark and I built a life together in our small, cozy house. I worked as an administrative assistant at a small legal firm, a job that paid our bills with a steady, reliable check. Mark was a freelance graphic designer, always chasing his big break and dreaming of huge projects. I believed in his talent so completely that I took on all the practical responsibilities without a second thought. I managed our budget, paid all the bills on time, and made sure our home life was smooth and stable. I thought we were a team, a partnership where we supported each other's dreams, even if mine were quietly put on hold. It felt like a fair trade at the time, supporting the man I loved. What Mark never really understood was that I had dreams of my own, dreams I kept mostly to myself. I have always been amazing with numbers and organization. In secret, over the last 2 years, I had been studying to become a certified freelance bookkeeper. I completed online courses and earned my professional certification, hiding the textbooks in my corner of the spare room. It was my passion, a career where I could truly excel and be my own boss. But I constantly delayed launching my business. I told myself Mark's creative career was more volatile and needed my stable income as a safety net. I thought I was being a supportive wife, putting our shared future first, even if it meant sacrificing my own ambitions for a little while longer. The moment that changed everything started as a perfectly normal Sunday. Mark's parents were coming over for dinner, and I wanted everything to be perfect for him. I spent the entire day cleaning the house from top to bottom, ensuring every surface shined. I cooked his favorite meal, a roasted chicken with herbs and all the side dishes from scratch. The table was set beautifully with our best dishes. When they arrived, I was exhausted but proud of the warm, welcoming environment I had created. I smiled as I served everyone, happy to see Mark laughing and relaxed with his family. I felt like I had done my job well, securing a happy evening for the man I loved. The conversation during dinner was light at first, but it slowly turned towards money. Mark's father began complaining about some unexpected home repair costs and their tightening budget. He chuckled and looked directly at Mark, saying, "Maybe you can help your old parents out soon, now that you're such a successful designer." Mark laughed in response, a loud, forced sound that immediately put me on edge. He puffed out his chest a little, trying to look important. I saw his mom give a small, uncomfortable smile. The air in the room felt suddenly thick and heavy, charged with a tension I didn't yet understand. I kept my eyes on my plate, hoping the subject would change. Then Mark said the words that would shatter our life together. He looked right at his dad, grinned that charming grin of his, and said, "Don't look at me. I'm not the useless one in this relationship." He then pointed his thumb directly at me, as if I were a piece of furniture. My fork, loaded with food, froze halfway to my mouth. I could feel the eyes of his parents on me, their stares burning into my skin. The word useless echoed in the silent dining room, bouncing off the walls I had so carefully cleaned. In that single, cruel moment, 7 years of love and support evaporated into nothing. He wasn't finished. As I sat there, stunned into silence, he kept talking. "She brings in a steady paycheck, I'll give her that," he said with a dismissive shrug. "But that's about it. Can't even get a promotion after all these years." The food in my mouth turned to dust, and I struggled to swallow. I finally looked up and saw his mother's face. Her eyes were wide with shock and a deep embarrassment, not for her son, but for me. His father looked down at his plate, unable to meet my gaze. The humiliation was so complete, so public, it felt like a physical slap. I had never felt so small in my own home. I didn't scream or cry. I didn't argue. A strange, cold calm settled over me. I carefully placed my fork down on my plate, the gentle clink sounding like a thunderclap in the quiet room. I pushed my chair back, stood up, and walked out without saying a single word. I could feel their eyes following me as I left. I went straight upstairs and sat on the edge of our bed, my whole body trembling. Downstairs, I heard the muffled, hurried goodbyes of his parents and the front door closing. The perfect dinner I had worked so hard to create was ruined, and so was my marriage. Mark came upstairs about 20 minutes later. He didn't look sorry or concerned. He just started getting ready for bed as if nothing had happened. "You know I was just joking, right?" he said, his voice casual. "You need to learn to take a joke. You're always so sensitive." He climbed into bed and within minutes, he was fast asleep, snoring softly. I lay beside him in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The ice in my heart spread through my entire body. This wasn't a joke. It was the truth he had been hiding for years. I was not his partner, I was his convenience. As I lay there in the dark, my mind replayed the last 7 years. I saw all the late nights I had spent balancing our budget so his checks could cover his fancy software subscriptions. I remembered all the times I did his laundry, cooked his meals, and managed his client schedules because he was too busy with creative work. I thought of the promotions I hadn't applied for because my stable job was our financial anchor. Every sacrifice, every bit of emotional labor I had done was now thrown back in my face with one word: useless. The weight of it all was crushing. Then, the shock began to fade, and a new feeling emerged. It was a quiet, simmering anger. It wasn't hot and messy, it was cold, clear, and powerful. I realized something incredibly important in that moment. I was not the useless one. He was utterly dependent on me. I paid half the rent, I managed his life, and I had the skills to build a better one for myself. The power in our relationship had always been mine. I had just given it away. Now, I decided I was going to take it back. Every single bit of it. I slipped out of bed carefully, making sure not to wake him. The digital clock glowed 1 a.m. I went to the spare room, my tiny sanctuary, and opened my laptop. The blue light illuminated my determined face. First, I logged into a secret savings account I had opened 6 months ago. It was my just-in-case fund, and I felt a surge of pride seeing the balance I had built from my own paycheck. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start. It was my first step toward independence, and now it would become my escape fund. Next, I went to a popular freelance job website. Months ago, I had created a profile for my bookkeeping services, but had been too nervous to ever activate it. Tonight, that fear was gone. I updated my profile with a new energy. I listed my certifications and, in the experience section, I wrote 7 years of managing complex household and business finances for a dual-income family. It was the truth. Managing Mark's unpredictable income and our bills had given me real-world experience. My profile was now live, and I was officially open for business. With my profile active, I started searching for jobs. I filtered for remote, high-paying bookkeeping positions. I didn't feel scared anymore. I felt focused. I wrote cover letters that highlighted my precision and reliability. I attached my certification documents. By 2:30 a.m., I had applied for 5 different jobs. Each click of the submit button felt like taking back a piece of myself. The world was still asleep, but I was finally waking up. I had nothing left to lose, and that made me fearless. To my absolute astonishment, responses started trickling in before the sun even rose. The freelance world never sleeps. By 4 a.m., I had 3 emails requesting video interviews. One was from the founder of a tech startup who needed someone to manage their books immediately. He was impressed with my profile and wanted to talk first thing in the morning. A tiny spark of confidence, something I hadn't felt in years, flickered inside my chest. Maybe I wasn't useless. Maybe I was marketable. Maybe I was valuable. I closed my laptop. The planning phase was over. Now it was time for action. I moved through the dark house like a ghost. I pulled our large suitcases from the hall closet, wincing at the slight squeak of the wheels. I started in my own closet, taking every dress, every blouse, every pair of jeans that belonged to me. I folded them with methodical precision, packing my entire identity into those bags. I left behind anything he had ever bought for me, a necklace, a fancy dress. It all felt tainted now. They were souvenirs from a life I no longer wanted. I moved to my home office. This was the most important part. I packed my laptop, my external hard drive with all my files, and the folder containing my official bookkeeping certification. I gathered my tax documents, my passport, my social security card, and my birth certificate. These weren't just papers. They were the tools of my freedom and the proof of who I was. I was taking my future with me. I left behind every single thing that belonged to his business, every client file, every design sketchbook. That was his mess to manage now. I went into the kitchen. A final, symbolic act came to mind. I opened the refrigerator and the pantry. I took every grocery item I had purchased with my own money. The milk, the eggs, the bread, the coffee. I even took the half-used bag of coffee beans from the grinder. If I was so useless, then he certainly didn't need the food I provided. I packed it all into grocery bags. The kitchen, once the heart of the home I made, now looked stripped and empty, just like I felt inside. I took out my phone one more time. I logged into our joint bank account, the one my useless paycheck was deposited into every 2 weeks. I calculated the total savings quickly. Then I transferred exactly half of the money into my secret savings account. It was my fair share earned from the job he mocked. It was more than fair, considering I had been subsidizing his life for years. I was no longer funding my own humiliation. The transfer was instant. I was now financially ready to walk away. I needed to leave a note. I found a piece of paper and a pen. I didn't feel sad or angry while I wrote. I felt nothing. I wrote just 3 lines. You were right. I was useless to you. So I fixed the problem. Don't try to find me. I didn't sign it with love. I didn't sign it at all. I left it on the clean kitchen counter, right where the coffee maker used to be. It was a simple, cold statement of fact. He had stated his truth, and now I was stating mine. I called a taxi and requested a quiet arrival. As I waited, I carried my suitcases and boxes of groceries to the front porch. The first light of dawn was beginning to color the sky. The taxi arrived, and the driver helped me load my entire life into the trunk and back seat. I took one last look at the house I had turned into a home. I expected to feel a wave of sadness, but it never came. Instead, I felt a profound sense of freedom. I got into the taxi and told the driver the name of a nice hotel downtown. I didn't look back. I checked into the hotel using my own credit card. The room was clean, quiet, and anonymous. It was mine. The first thing I did was call the tech startup founder back. We had a video call right there from my hotel room. I was calm, confident, and professional. I laid out how I could organize his company's finances. He was thrilled and offered me a 6-month contract on the spot. The pay was double my old admin salary. I accepted immediately. My new life started at that exact moment. Later that morning, as I was eating room service breakfast, my phone started to vibrate. Then it didn't stop. Dozens of missed calls and a flood of texts from Mark lit up the screen. Where are you? My important client meeting is today. Where is my blue shirt? What did you do with all the food? Why is the coffee gone? Notice, he didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't ask where I was. He was only concerned with his own comfort and his own needs. It was the final confirmation I needed. I didn't answer a single call or text. I simply blocked his number. I felt an incredible sense of peace. I spent the day setting up my new freelance business, creating invoices, and planning my work for the startup. I felt a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. I was using my brain, my skills, and being paid what I was worth. The world hadn't ended when I left Mark. It had finally begun. I was my own boss, in charge of my own destiny, and it felt amazing. A week later, I used my first advance payment from the startup to rent a small, sunny apartment. It had huge windows and an amazing view. I bought new furniture, a comfortable bed, and a proper desk for my work. Everything was mine, chosen by me for me. There was no one to clean up after, no one to manage, no one to belittle me. The silence in my new home wasn't lonely, it was peaceful. For the first time in a long time, I felt powerful and completely capable. A few weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend. She told me Mark was a complete mess. His business was falling apart because he had no one to manage his invoices or his schedule. His house was filthy and he was eating takeout every day. He was telling everyone a sad story, claiming he had no idea why I left. But I knew the truth. He had handed me the reason on a silver platter. He called me useless, and I finally believed him. So I left and became everything he said I couldn't be. The empty closet he woke up to wasn't just about missing clothes. It was a symbol of the void he created when he lost the woman who was silently holding his entire world together. And I knew, with every fiber of my being, that I would never, ever go back.